Hello and welcome back. Today I wanted to do something a little bit out of character, and I wanted to talk about something that isn't a lightsaber, though it is pretty close. What I have here in front of me is the Samurai 3000, which is a katana. The original was designed by United Cutlery out of Taiwan, and there have since been knockoffs of it. As a matter of fact, Vader's Vault makes an homage to this. I believe they call it the Mitsugi or Mitsugi or something like that, that's designed to sort of mimic this handle design. A lot of people in the lightsaber community lust after this model of katana, so I thought it would be worthwhile to take a look at it and to show you some of the differences between the authentic and the knockoff. You may notice that there's a hole in the wall behind me here. Well, not a hole, but there's a hole in the collection. If you've been watching my other reviews, these things usually sit right here. Okay, next time you see them, that's where they're going to be. Okay, but for now, I figured I'd take them down. So let's take a look. First off, this is an authentic United Replicas version. This is the Tanto size. They made 3 sizes of this, I believe. This is the small, there was a medium Wagasashi blade, and there was a full katana. All right, it's a very nice design. It looks very lightsaber-like. There's an inset grip right here. And there's a cross guard with some interesting designs to it. There's some alien letters that don't mean anything etched right across here. Mimicked up here. There's buttons and gears and things carved into the blade. For the most part, this thing is made out of a sort of, feels a lot like base metal, though I think it's probably steel. I believe this one might be closer to base metal. There's vents here, right below the grip and right above the pommel. Inside these vents is a wire wrap or a coil that you can see through the vents. Okay, there's some lettering up on the up here close to the blade and a crescent moon. Okay, the way that you know the difference, well, actually, let me come back to that in a second and get to one other feature. One of the interesting things about this is it locks inside the sheath. Okay, there's a button on the hilt here. Pressing the button is what allows you to draw it out of the sheath. The button is attached to this little clip right here that you may or may not be able to see on a spring. Pushing it lowers it, allows you to draw the blade. Alright, so let's talk about the difference between this and the knockoff. Okay, this is the actual one. This is a knockoff. Okay, now this blade design is exactly the same as from the katana-sized Samurai 3000 that's legitimate. Okay, the design in terms of the alien letters, the pictures, the inset bits, the grip is all actually identical. The differences, it even actually has this little push button right here, just like the other, that allows you to pull it from the sheath. The differences, whereas the authentic one has a wire wrap inside these vents, the knockoff has a threaded piece of metal that's made to look like that wire wrap. So they cut a little bit of a corner there, gave you a threaded piece of metal underneath here as opposed to the full-on wire wrap. Also, the metal is a little bit darker. On the authentic version, there's more contrast between the bits that stand up and the bits that are inset. On this one, there's less contrast. The metal also doesn't age as well. Okay, this thing was made in 2001. I've had it since probably 2001. Usually it's on the wall here behind me. This knockoff, the metal has started to get some pits and a little bit of erosion on it. The actual one, that has not happened, even though I've had it for about the same duration of time. It's been about 15, 16 years. All right. Otherwise, the design is identical except for that wire wrap versus the threaded piece of metal. The other difference, while the blade of the actual legitimate one says United Cutlery, 2001, crafted in Taiwan, the blade on the knockoff says 440 stainless china. Okay, in both cases, the blades are 440 steel. They're not anything like high carbon or anything like that. But just one of them is marked and the other one isn't. In terms of handling for these, one of the things that makes both of them such nice sabers, especially within the lightsaber community, is usually with a katana, you end up with something that's a little bit blade heavy because the handles are made out of wood with a full tang going down them. Because this is made of this heavy metal on the handle, it actually handles a lot more like a lightsaber than a standard katana does. The weight is transferred to the hilt and away from the blade. Okay, so it actually handles fairly well. All right, and it's a pretty solid, sturdy design in both cases. The other difference between the standard edition and the knockoff is in the sheath. While they're identical down to the accents and highlights and details, again, you're dealing with that darker metal in the knockoff sheath. You're also dealing with a smooth finish on the main part of the sheath itself. With the United Cutlery, or the actual one, you've got sort of a crackled false leather finish on the sheath itself rather than the shiny finish. But otherwise, they're the same creature with the exception of the metal. In both cases, there isn't a whole great deal of difference between them, between the design, between how they handle, other than the material and the slight differences that I've noted. They're both really solid sabers. They're both really great collector's pieces. And that, again, I think is why Vader's Vault has made their homage to it, and why so many people in the lightsaber community are so interested in this hilt. Hopefully this review has been of help to you and helped you spot some of the differences if you find one out and about in the wild, since you know what you're getting. If you've liked this, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Thanks. Bye.